So what I'm going to talk about today is who am I, what is Tranzient, the thing I made, why did I make it, then do a live demo about how the kind of physicality of playing electronic music in VR works, or XR, and then talk about technical stuff, how it was built, and what the challenges and solutions were to those challenges in making it. So, long time as was said in music tech, Yamaha, Focusrite, working audio stuff, music stuff to go with pianos, generally desktop software and sort of mixing desk UIs, those sort of things. And when I started my career making a kind of post-production DAW, do you know, everyone knows what a DAW is? Yeah. Basically lots of tracks of sound for film, like footsteps and audio dialogue and everything, and editing that, which is a long time ago because I'm old. Also worked on kind of synth firmware, Novation, Mini Nova synth, tiny little synth, mostly on user interface and arpeggiators and things. And then about 2018, I decided to kind of jump and make XR stuff, having worked for a startup which was doing sort of hand tracking and things. So that startup was trying to make kind of the world's most expressive electronic drum, which is an optical sensing drum, tracks the sticks as you hit the surface, that kind of thing. But it was also used to use hand tracking to kind of move game scenes around, sort of 3D hand tracking. And so I thought, time to do some VR, really. And take my music tech knowledge and move that into virtual reality. So I initially made a kind of quick 3-month project, which is an Ableton Live controller in VR. And that means that there's no need to write an audio engine or anything like that. It's literally just hitting stuff, sending signals to an existing sound generation system. So that was a kind of way of testing the market. And I did a kind of collaboration with Ableton at a show, and that went down really well, which is great. And it's one of the things with VR, which is that people see it at a show and are kind of blown away by it, and then they don't go and buy the VR headset afterwards. So that's kind of the pattern that happens. So you usually get really good user feedback, user testing, but selling it to people is another kind of kettle of fish. So anyway, that kind of proved to me that I could make something people like. And therefore I then went to create this thing called Tranzient, which became a beast of a thing, actually. So it's trying to do most of the things that desktop music creation software does, like Ableton, but in VR, and try and kind of use the strengths of VR to create music, because obviously there's a lot of stuff that makes no sense in VR. You can't play a piano in VR well. You can't, well, maybe you can now, but you can't play a guitar well in VR, but you can do beats and loops and effects and scratching and all those sort of things. So there's a kind of barrier of what's good and what isn't. So I spent quite a long time building that because I like building things. And in the middle of doing Tranzient stuff, I also went to work for a company called Ultraleap, that are specialist hand tracking and haptics manufacturers. So they've got loads of patents on haptics, where you can kind of feel. They've got an ultrasound emitter, and it makes you feel stuff midair that's not there, basically. And so it's like the opposite of what you need in VR. With hand tracking, you can't feel what you're interacting with. And when you're interacting above the surface, you feel the thing you see. So it's a very kind of cutting edge thing, which didn't do too well either, actually. So they've now been bought by a company called Rolly, which makes music stuff, funnily enough. And they made some money out of the patents and things, and they kind of pivoted to using that haptics and hand tracking to control very expensive cars. So like stuff where cars like Teslas have moved to touch screens, which is really bad when you're driving like that. So they're trying to do interaction kind of here, so you can feel without having to see what you're doing. And you've got like a giant volume control for your stereo or whatever. So virtual control for expensive cars. So that's my career history. What is this thing called Tranzient? So It's electronic music creation, which is looping, synthesizers, drumming, effects, and because it's VR, you've got avatars, worlds, hand tracking. On PC, you've got multiplayer. So when I started this, I used VR a lot. It was quite early in the kind of lifetime of VR. And I decided VR chat was the best thing in VR, and basically how everything should be done in terms of interaction and the way avatars work and full body IK, all that stuff. So I copied it in Unreal Engine in terms of that, just the basics of how to make a VR app. And then into that, I brought music technology, 2D control of instruments, and trying to synchronize that in multiplayer as well. And the kind of main vision from the music side is to be able to make genuinely good tunes or bangers or whatever you want to call it, because there's lots of experimental stuff out there where you can only really make loads of weird noises. And to me, the aim is to make a tune you want to hear on the radio or something, or at least want to hear on a dance floor. So, live demo. So what I'm going to do is go through a few instruments and just talk about how you can physically control things well in VR, where you're not actually touching things using haptics, but you've got a 3D space and you've still got control and you've got the velocity of your arms moving and all that sort of stuff. So we're going to start with a synth. So ultimately in a game engine or whatever, you've got collisions, which is the literally the volume of anything in the space. And so that's what you've got to interact with. And you've also got laser pointers and you've got buttons on your controls. So on one level, you can interact at a distance. So you can probably see me doing that with that hand. And I'm kind of pressing a key here, which is routed to pitch. So it's the same sort of thing as if you look on a synth, you'd have like a pitch bender wheel, and it just gives it more kind of expression. So you can play quite expressively at a distance, and then because it's VR, everything's completely scalable. So you can have giant keys or tiny keys, whatever. And obviously you can pick up any note you want and lay it out any way you want. And as you see there, I'm hitting it. So when your hand's in it, it's kind of the note's still on. As your hand passes through, it's off. So that's kind of the simplest level of interaction. So if you want staccato notes, you might have like, staccato means short. Means you might use that like that. But if you want more control, you might have something like cubes, because it's very easy to hold your hand inside it rather than going all the way through. And that kind of shape's good for drums as well, which I'll show in a minute. Or you might want sort of harp-like interaction, which is more likely to check. Well, no. Don't want to slap someone. So that's quite an expressive way of playing, because it's a bit kind of dancey at the same time, the way you're moving around. One of the fun things with those is they're actually physics driven, so you can kind of see them fly around. And so that's a kind of a virtual way of interacting with things that doesn't really exist in the real world. But this kind of thing.
Julia's going to get in the eye in a minute, so I just...
Sorry.
I've got one eye there.
Is a kind of, this is much more like what you'd see in the physical world, a bunch of knobs to control the parameters. So if I start this playing something, So it's a bit weird not being able to see people. Right.
Rules get here, I promise.
So you can kind of grab any parameter and mess with it. So what I've done there is I've set up a sequencer or a loop. I've recorded something into it. This is running what's called an arpeggiator, which just plays between the different notes you play. So I just recorded a couple of notes and then just messing around with the parameters here. So on top of that, if I map one of these parameters to something like that, it says right Z position, that means when I do this, you see that knob move there? So in that way you can create 3D performance controlling these parameters of the sound by waving your hands around and that sort of thing. So let's do that now. And then you're kind of free to then build up interactions anywhere you want, controlling anything. A synth's quite a complicated thing, but everyone just controls the filter usually because that sounds cool. So once you've got that, you can record that kind of motion. So if I record this, so, I mean, this is how people build up electronic music in sort of something like Ableton Live. You build a load of loops, you record parameter changes, and you make cool tunes, basically. So that's the synthesizer. So I'll get rid of that for a sec. Show you drums. So there's quite a few challenges in making drums work well in a kind of 3D game engine or a 3D control area, and that's because usually you kind of get an event and then you get another event when you pass through and you get another event when you pass out and stuff. And it's very easy to get double hits and it's quite hard to get accurate accents like that. So it takes quite a bit of doing. A lot of it's just like measuring the angle of the velocity or the vector of the velocity and making sure it only triggers in the right direction. So if I grab another sequencer, just going to record a beat. So you can see very quickly you can kind of build up beats, looping beats, and you can also program them here. So you can select whatever's the kind of active drum and then turn the steps on for it. So. So this is a kick. So that is kind of the more kind of programming way of creating beats as opposed to physically playing them in. So once you've done something like that, you can minimize stuff out of the way. And I'll try and bring the synth in on top of that. Ooh. In fact, I'll put the arc back on. So I'll play that. Ooh. So I'm just going to record that. So the next thing you do is, once you've got a few instruments, is you start adding effects to things, which is what you're getting in a mixer on a studio, stuff like reverbs or delays or whatever, echoes, etc. So if I go to the drums, I could add something like bit crusher, and open up an interface to it. So you can hear that's distorted. Then if I open up another synth, just change the scale of it. So you just do like live performance over the top or something. So fairly quickly you start building up a tune, and you can record kind of longer solos or whatever. So that's the sort of electronic side of it, which is admittedly still a bit blinky plonky, just because of the nature of the instruments, because they're electronically generated. And these are samples, but, which is why on top of that there's a load of sort of audio looping in here. So here's a kind of loop browser. And there's a kind of load of built-in pre-loops. Built-in presets. Oops, I'll just shut that up for a second. So what we can do is open up these loops into the space and trigger them on the beat, sort of thing. Quite nice waveforms. So what I'm doing there is sometimes I'm doing a seamless mix and sometimes I'm overlapping them. And the way something like Ableton works is you stack these things up together, build up scenes, which you trigger one after another. But it's quite nice just as a backing track as well to kind of grab that and then grab a synth and mess around. So I'll skip to what actually happens later, which is you can grab all those loops and drag them together into arrangements. But I'm not going to do that here. I'll show you what it looks like. Like that. And this is a 3D version of what something like Ableton is. So these are called scenes. They play together if you hit these buttons. Each of these is an individual loop. And you can kind of trigger them all randomly anyway, but they're all quantized, so everything's always in time. So I'd start by triggering down here. And then trigger the next scene. So that's brought in the sort of hi-hats. Let's bring it a bit closer. So you can see like 4 clips here in this scene. You can turn one on and off. So you're creating like seamless mix and just changing the song when you want to. And you've still got effects on these as well if you want to mess around with them. And, so I'm going to stop that for a sec. And so a lot of people who use something like Ableton, they just use that part of it, sort of clip firing, looping. And because it's samples, it always sounds cool. Mostly, or you use your own samples. So on top of that, you've then got things that are unique to VR. So one thing that's useful in VR is you've got, if I just put the camera up. So you can see me here, embodied, kind of. Overdid the mouth a bit. So what I'm going to do is record or mocap for myself, which will loop in the same way the music does. So if let's get rid of the camera. Play some music. So this will like cue up on the beat. I'm going to do some stupid dance moves. So you can kind of build up your own posse. So it's kind of batshit, but a lot of fun. But also beyond that, because this is an audio thing, you can record your voice at the same time, so you're kind of embodying your vocals or whatever you want to do, beatboxing or something. So if I get rid of these, oops. I'm going to try and sing in a Gothic voice because it's less embarrassing. Where's it? So you basically turn the mic on. I'm just going to sing. Singing in a Gothic voice, cause it's less embarrassing. Singing in a Gothic voice, cause it's less embarrassing. Singing in a Gothic voice, cause it's less embarrassing. Singing in a Gothic voice, cause it's less embarrassing. Singing in a Gothic voice, cause it's less embarrassing. Singing in a Gothic voice, cause it's less embarrassing. Singing in a Gothic Singing in a Gothic voice, cause it's less embarrassing. Singing in a Gothic voice, cause it's less embarrassing. So if you're a really good vocalist, you can build up 4-part harmonies and have like a little choir singing back at you, that kind of thing.
Does that just record through the headset?
Yes, that's the mic on these. It's all right, actually.
It's not bad, actually.
Yeah.
Can you hear yourself and then sing at the same time as that piece and it be alright? Like it then plays back contrast in that way?
Yes, as long as you trigger the recording at the right time. So it goes to the nearest grid.
The one that you're
Fine.
harmonising to, or-
Yeah. Yeah. So you're kind of making your own little 3D music video almost, which is all sort of savable and restorable. And what's quite good fun is just being able to singing in a Gothic voice. Just turn me down. Everything's completely scalable, so you can kind of create something that's hand-sized. Little mini choir. And as you load stuff or change the speed, everything syncs. So if I up the tempo, everything will start moving much faster. I should do. No, not that. One last thing to talk about. So because it's virtual reality, you've got visuals as well as audio, and those can be synchronized as well. So if you imagine you're in like a club of some sort, you've usually got some sort of beat sync video going on, and maybe, well, you won't have beat sync particle effects, but you might have explosions or something. So in this, it's also got beat synced video. Maybe just slow it down. And you also put your head in it, which is quite nice. And the last thing then is, because it's a game engine, you've got VFX sort of particle systems, which are audio reactive. So if I get rid of that video, and load something like, most of these are asset store. I did not build them. I don't know how to do complex stuff.
You want judge?
Thank you. So I've played some drums, you'll see. Let me just speed it up again a bit. Bit faster there. And just to finish it off, I'm just going to record a 2D video of it. Camera's up there. So what I did there was just have a camera in the scene which captured everything. So it's kind of flying around me. And that is what you share on social media if you want to.